feeling the throne. Feel like royalty now. Well, thank you for coming, especially today when all this rain is happening. So, thank you for taking the time. And yeah, so this is a Mexican harp. There's different harps in Mexico, from the north all the way to the south. Where like Chiapas, where the Mayans are at, all the way to the top, where more European influences are at, and also some of the Nahua people live there. So you'll find harps in Mexico. Not so easily nowadays because it's a little more of a old art, in like small town art. So you'll find small harps like this big to like bigger harps than this one. And then there's different kinds of harps. There's ones with the metal strings, ones with gut strings. These ones are nylon. Ones that have holes on the front. This one has holes in the back. And like I said, different sizes and for different styles. And they all sound different for the same reason. And this happened because basically when Europeans came, they brought all these string instruments. And one of them was a harp. But the harp back then in the Baroque era, it was like half of the size of this one. And like some people kept it that size, and actually it looks very Baroque. And then some kind of just like revolutionized the whole thing and changed everything, and it doesn't look anything like the classical harp that you might seen before or any other European harps. And this one specifically is the one that is the most popular. This one comes from Veracruz. It's arpa jarocha, which jarocho means anything that comes from Veracruz. So the people that come from Veracruz, they're called jarochos. The food that comes from Veracruz, they're called food jarocha, like comida jarocha, or anything that comes from it, right? So this is an arpa jarocha. And the reason why it's the most widespread is just because for some reason the music in like the jarocho music got developed more in the harp. And when you go to Veracruz, to any of the ports, you might see like a guy with carrying the harp in the beach, with like a little guitar guy also with him, and then they'll play tunes for you. So if you go to Veracruz, which you should, like you can go always to Cancun, but sometimes you can go to Veracruz, and then you'll find the people just playing in the street or playing in the beach or something. So it's the most developed, meaning it's the most popular. So it's the one that you can find the easiest. So, but I'm gonna play music from Veracruz, but also from other regions, and then I'll just be explaining to you where it comes from, what's it called, and kind of what it's about. And also, today is Day of the children in Mexico. So it's a little bit like Halloween for us in Mexico, for when we're children, obviously. We have a lot of parties everywhere that the people make, and then there's also lots of candies, lots of gifts everywhere. So I just thought about just kind of like remembering that, since we don't really have anything like that here in the U.S. And kind of just this program touches on in some aspect or another in childhood, and I'll just try to explain how that goes. So the first song is going to be for Veracruz. It's called Balaju. One of the most popular ones. And I mean, it's just basically talks about a guy that is traveling through the seas, and then kind of like all his adventures in the sea. So, Balaju. All right, so that was a warm up. Now the concert can start. No. The only thing about this music, Mexican music in general, traditional Mexican music, it's that, as you might know, or if you don't know, here we go. So in Mexico, we have three main influences. The most important, or like the biggest one, obviously, it's the native people of Mexico, and they all have different cultures between them. There were different civilizations before the Spanish came. And then also we have the Spanish, the European influence, which is also, like I said, the instruments and some of the singing traditions. And actually, now that that we are learning more and more about it, there's actually a fourth tradition that came with the Spanish, which was the Arabic influence. A lot of music from Spain is very, very heavily influenced by the Arabs. And so that also came to Mexico through there. And then the last one, it's the African root that we have in Mexico. And obviously, everybody knows the Africans came as slaves. They were not, they were not there because they wanted to, but they kept their traditions, they kept their culture, and with that culture also integrated into the Mexican society. And so between all those cultures, this beautiful thing came to be alive, which is the Mexican culture. And then there's not just one Mexican culture. There's a variety of them. When you go to Mexico and you go to different states and to different regions, you're going to find that it's like going to a different world, because each region is its own country almost. But they all are influenced by either Spanish, Native Americans, or Africans. And for example, if you're listening for this song, it was very rhythmic. There was a lot. It wasn't just melodic or harmonic. It was a lot of rhythm, and that you can really see how the influences are there. So the next one, it's called Pájaro Carpintero, and I was just thinking about it. And like back in the day, we had all these wooden toys, and obviously you need a carpintero to come and make them for you. A carpintero is like carpenter, So this is a very nice song. It's also from Veracruz, and here we go. Thank you. Uh, the other thing that I want to tell you about this music is that they are actually called sones or son, which is a little bit of a Latin word to mean song. But in Mexico, sones are songs that never finish. They only get paused and then get resumed somewhere else. So if you can think about it, I was playing here and I could actually play this for like a whole hour. And when you go to Veracruz, you go to the fandangos, which are like the communal parties or like, gatherings. People will play these songs for like 20, 30 minutes. If like somebody has a lot of verses, like an hour, and then you just like get into this trance and then they just play for an hour. And then somebody says, all right, last one. And then like, okay, we just pause it. And then maybe in the morning, somebody else will play it again. Or like the day before, or the day after, So there are songs that never end. It's kind of like jazz in the sense of like, you have your structure, but everything else, I would say about 80% of it is improvised. So you just kind of figure out the patterns. So the next one is called Valentina. This is a little bit of a lullaby, even though it's actually a corrido about a very courageous woman, a lieutenant in the Mexican Revolution. And she was so respected that actually somebody created a corrido, which are ballads that are usually telling of a story that happened during the Mexican Revolution. So, Valentina. And then now to something to wake up, colas. So colas, it's a guy that is the life of the party. And it's whenever he comes to the fandangos, everybody gets up and starts dancing. And so yeah, I'm not gonna say anything else about that because it's for children. All right. Now, I was going to play another one that is fast, but I think I'm going to switch to a slower one to catch my breath, and then we'll do the other one. So the next one is son is called trompo. Does anybody know what trompo is? Yes, not that many people, but some. So trompo, it's, I don't know how you say it, in a top in English, yeah, a top. So, you throw it and it just spins. And so in Mexico, when I was younger, not too far along, but we still had those. We would just be, buying them like all different colors and stuff, and then you would have to get like the metal tip, so that when you play with your friends, and you actually hit their trompo, and then you would just break it in half, and then you will win. But you couldn't do that with like a plastic tip. You had to get a metal one. Anyway. So that was my youth in school. But yeah, trompo. So this song, it just talks about the trompo and how these people, or these older people singing this song, they're just remembering, their childhood and how much fun they had playing this toy. And so, yeah, it's a nice song. So here we go, trompo. Did it remind you of a trompo? No? No, maybe. So the next one is also could be a toy, maybe for cats. So this is a bell, like I don't know how you call it, no, not a jingle bell, but like a little bell that you put in a cat or something, play with that. In Spanish called Cascabel. Also, Cascabel could be the tail of a snake, a rattle. So it could be either a toy or, a sign. So Cascabel, and then that one's a little more popular, especially with the mariachi now, and it's a very intense song in minor, and it basically just talks about how people just enjoy the rattle or the jingle so much, and they just have it everywhere, and it's how beautiful it is. And then obviously the verses that people use for these sones could be about anything. That's a beautiful thing about these lyrics. It basically talks about your reality. So if somebody in the city would be singing this, they would be talking about maybe the Sears Tower or the lake or something like that. But if they're in a small town, they're talking about the animals or the living conditions of the small house or the farm or whatever. So then you can really see where these people are coming from or what your story is, and they usually are improvised. So just like I'm improvising the music, they will be improvising the lyrics. So it's more like a poetry, like poems. So Cascabel. All right. So we have 10 minutes. Wow. I have a lot more songs than 10 minutes. All right. So I'll play a song, a dance. So there's sones, right? And then there's dances. And then dances usually are like more Native American based. And so they are more of like a spiritual connotation. So they're not meant to be for parties or for, just partying. It's meant to get into a trance and then kind of just like connect yourself with the higher being and just, play music, dance, and just be in the ceremony. So these sones, these dances are, they're called danzas de Moctezuma, and then dances of Moctezuma, which Moctezuma, you might know, was like the last ruler of the Mexicas or Aztecs. And so this music comes from the northeast section of Mexico, La Huasteca. So danzas de Moctezuma. Thank you. And like I said, this also, it's meant to be played for hours. I just played it for like 2 minutes. But we could have just got into a trance and just play it for 2 hours, and it will be the same music. It doesn't change. It's very steady. And there's actually some other stances that are even simpler, like one melody, and then it just keeps repeating it, repeating it, repeating it, repeating. And it's meant to be in trance. It's not to show off or anything like that. So, I get to choose. So we're gonna go to Guerrero, and in Guerrero they also have harp tradition, even though it's really hard to find one nowadays. And the cool thing about sones from Guerrero is that most of them are about animals. And, and people dance them acting like animals. Not in the sense of partying like animals, different thing. Acting like animals, so like moving like animals. And then, so I want to play a song. It's called La Iguana. And you might think, how does a iguana move, or how you dance the iguana? Look it up on YouTube, and then you'll see how fun it can be. Basically, if you're on the stage, the guy will jump out of the stage and get into its four extremities, and then become an iguana. And then there'll be a woman next to him dancing, and then the guy will be like playing like playing like being an iguana. So you can imagine a woman with an iguana in front. How would that work, right? So iguana, and then this is sones that are very, very influenced of African traditions, and so this is where most of the Afro-Mexican community lives in. And so when you go there, you will see people. They have like all their, they look like from Africa, but they're also, they have all these traditions that had been kept from, hundreds of years. So, like one. Thank you. It's a lot more flashier with the guy jumping in the floor. But, oh, you should have told me. I should have told someone to come forward. So I think we have 1 minute, but I think we can play a little after the 1 minute. So we're gonna play one more song, and this is gonna be the song that you have probably never heard in your life. The name is Bamba. I don't know if anybody knows this song. Anybody? A little bit? Yeah. Okay. So every person does its own version, right? Because it's a song, it's not a song. Richie Valens did his own version. Los Lobos did their own version, and those are the most popular ones. But in Mexico, there's thousands of different versions. And every time that you play La Bamba, you don't say, I play the Bamba. You say, I play a Bamba. Big difference. So the same thing. It's from Veracruz. It's all the verses should be improvised, but there's some verses that are very popular, like yo no soy marinero, por ti seré, which everybody knows that. But there's so many different ones, and you're supposed to make your own. So La Bamba, and so thank you so much for coming, and I hope that we can see each other some other place. I live in Chicago, so it's very easy for me to come and play somewhere else, but we'll see. I have some performances coming up as well on by myself, and so you can just look me over in Facebook or Instagram. Just if you know my name, I don't know if anywhere there's my name, but you can just look it up or Google my name, and then you'll find tons of things, all good things, I hope. So thank you so much, and it was a pleasure playing with you. Thank you so much.